Hey, I'm back, and today's subject is the Breton Kingdom of Cornouaille. The only reason I'm calling it Cornouaille is because that's what it's called in French, and the map I have has the French names instead of the normal Breton names. In Breton it's called Carneuve, and otherwise I'd use that, but the only map I have does use the French version, and that can get a bit confusing. Cornouaille will be bordered by Poher to the north, Bro Erech to the east, and Dumnoni to the far north. The early history of Cornouaille can be traced to the legendary figure Conan Meriadoc, a general and friend of Magnus Maximus, a Roman usurper and later emperor in the late 4th century. The first king of Cornouaille was Gradlon Mawr, the second born of Conan Meriadoc. His epithet Mawr translates to the Great in English. Gradlon has quite a few myths associated with him, such as him falling in love with a half-fairy when he was a young man and a pagan. Gradlon would eventually convert to Christianity, and this would anger the fairy greatly, and so she spurned him and his love. She would later possess his daughter Dahut, and she would cause great misery to Cornouaille. Another legend associated with Gradlon is one where he went hunting and got lost in the great forest of Menezhom. He would be found by Saint Cornetin, who saved him from death's door. Gradlon would make Correspotium, or modern-day Quimper, his capital afterwards. A statue of Gradlon is still found in front of the cathedral in the city, actually. His son Solomon would succeed him, but nothing is really known about him. The next king of Cornouaille that has information on him is Iawn Wraith. Likely a cousin of Salomon, Iawn hailed from Dumnonia, also ruled by the descendants of Conan Meriadoc. He would leave Britain after increasing Anglo-Saxon raids and settlement in the early 5th century. He established himself as king of Cornouaille, and he'd gained a just and fair reputation, and likely a good one as a lawgiver, as his epithet Wraith reflects that, as Wraith means the lawgiver in Breton. We don't know anything else about him, but we do know that his son Daniel Dremrydd would succeed him. Daniel could either be the last one of his royal line to be born in Britain, or he could just have been born in Britain. It's not really mentioned. Daniel would establish himself as a strong and powerful ruler. He'd gained the nickname Cyburdan, or the Supreme Daniel in English. Daniel is said to have conquered Alemannia or Germany, but this is likely a mistake. He more than likely would have conquered maybe small parts of France or just small parts of southwestern England. And the next bit of information we have on him is in 497 he's at war with a man called Marchil Chillon, who invaded Bro Erech and Cornouaille at the same time. He would force Daniel back to his holdings in mainland Britain. Budik would likely succeed his father as Daniel as king of Cornwall, because after that Daniel does drop out the records, but we do have Budik, which is likely his son. Budik would seek refuge at the court of King Eirgol Lawhir of Dyfed after his father's defeat. He would meet and fall in love with Anawfed, the sister of Saint Taylor. After Marchil Chillon died, Budik would return to Cornwall and take over as king. During this time, Breton cavalry began to get a reputation for strength and invincibility on the battlefield. Budik would be succeeded by his son Teodric in 515, and that's literally all we have on Budik. Teodric wouldn't rule for long, as King Macleod of Bro Erech defeated and exiled him within a few months of his father's passing. He would be exiled to Cornwall, where he would gather an army, and in 520 would sail south to reclaim his homeland. He would defeat Macleod and his eldest son in battle. Teodric would let Warrock, the youngest son of Macleod, rule Bro Erech as a vassal, and within 2 years Teodric would die, and his brother Meliau would succeed him. Meliau was a wise and just king ruling Cornouaille fairly, and the youngest brother, Rivod, would often oppose his decisions, and he would lead a coup which would kill Meliau, and Melord, which was the son of Meliau, would technically succeed his father as king, but Melord was a child. Melord would be maimed instead of killed by his uncle Rivod. Melord would lose his right hand and left leg. These factors would essentially take him out the line of succession for the kingdom, but parts of the royal household managed to make him a silver hand and a bronze foot that, according to legend, he could use quite well, almost like they were normal parts of his body. So Melord would be fostered by Ceri Alton in Quimper. Whilst there, he would be taught how to ride a horse and how to fight with a sword. When Rivod heard this, he ordered Ceri Altan to kill Melord in return for land around modern-day Mount Frugi. Ceri Altan refused initially, but his wife convinced him that his children should come first instead of his foster son. So Melord would eventually flee to his uncle King Conor of Poher with the help of Ceri Altan's wife, who had second thoughts about murdering a child, which is the most basic thing, honestly. And so Ceri Altan would manage to convince Melord to return to him, and 2 nights later he would cut off Melord's head. For his treachery though, he would be struck blind and his son Justin would fall off the ramparts of the castle they were in, where they'd murdered Melor as they were trying to make their escape. So Rivod wouldn't rule for very long after his nephew's murder, and after Rivod's death it's unclear what happened to Cornouaille. One thing for certain is though that they lost their splendour and rank as High Kings of the Bretons to Domnoni and later Bro Erech. And so that's the end of this video. I hope you liked it and I'll see you in the next one.